Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there. Hello everyone, this is Alonzo. Want to know how to get your first cloud job? Then please register for our webinar. We'll teach you everything that you need to know and answer your questions along the way. Hope to see you there.
My name is Richard Ferrer, and I can say I am cloud hired.
That yes, come and join and get cloud hired. I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
Hey, Go Cloud Architect family, I'm cloud hired.
So I'm cloud hired, guys.
So I'll just say I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired.
I'm cloud hired thanks to Go Cloud Architects.
It worked for me, and now I'm cloud hired.
Because of Google Architect program, I am cloud hired. See!
I am cloud hired. Thank you, Mike and the GlowCloud team.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another cloud computing career training question and answer session from us at Go Cloud Careers. My name is Chris Johnson. I am the Chief Operating Officer, joined today by Mike Gibbs, our founder and CEO, and Alonzo Coleman, our Chief Marketing Officer. So we are here to answer any and all of your cloud career related questions, whether you want to be a cloud architect or you want to be a cloud engineer, or anything in between. If you've got questions about the cloud architect career, or cloud computing jobs, or cloud architect job, or cloud engineer job, this is the place to ask them. So if you want to know how to become a cloud architect or how to become a cloud engineer, ask the question. If you want to know about cloud computing courses, or cloud architect courses and cloud architect training, or if you even want to know what is cloud computing, this is the place to ask the questions. Any questions related to cloud computing careers and training, ask those questions for us. So don't be shy. Ask us your questions. It never fails that nobody asks questions for about 10, 15 minutes. And then at the very end, when we get ready to get off of here, everybody asks their questions. So make sure you ask your questions. Otherwise, we can't help you. And that's what we're here to do, is we're here to help you. So before I let Mike and Alonzo say anything, I do want to let everybody know about a few things. First of all, I want to let everybody know, remind everybody about our Thursday webinars, our How to Become an Ultimate Cloud Architect webinar. Will be this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. This will be completely free. And this is for you to hear from us about how we train cloud architects and how we can help you become the ultimate cloud architect. So attend this completely free webinar and learn exactly what it takes to become a cloud architect. Next thing I want to do is I want to make sure everybody is aware. We are starting a little bit early here. We're starting at a 30% off 4th of July discount for all of you. That will be available on our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program, our Tech Interview Fundamentals Program, and all of our programs except for our new Elite Cloud Architect Bundle. So it's available on all programs except for our new Elite Cloud Architect Bundle. So make sure to take advantage of that. That is 30% off on all payment plans, options, everything for the Cloud Architect Career Development Program, Tech Interview Fundamentals, and all those other programs that it's eligible on. So that link will be in the chat box as well. So let's get to Mike and Alonzo and see what they have to say before we get into the questions.
Well, welcome everyone. I want to help you build the most elite career. I've been in tech now for 25 years as an architect, cloud architect, network architect, enterprise architect, business architect, you name it, I've been in and I've done it. And I've been helping people for over 2 decades get their first tech job. You know, last week, actually, I think it was last Friday, 2 people were hired. Another person was hired just today. And an additional person, I was actually filling out their employment checklist. So that's actually 2 hires today and 2 on Friday. And I love it when somebody gets hired. It's the best part of my life. And it's why I do what I do. And it's why I'm able to retain people like Chris and Alonzo, because we love getting people hired. Any of us could go get any architect job we want or any business executive job, but getting people hired is amazing. The only way I can help you is if you let me know what your goals are, what your challenges are, what your pain points are, and I can give you the guidance to get you there. So ask your questions. I want to let you know, all of you, that no matter what your background is, you can become a great cloud architect. I can give you example after example. It doesn't matter your background. Like me, I went from healthcare to tech. I've got people getting tech jobs from all backgrounds, social work, food server, geologist, executives. It doesn't matter. They're all getting hired. And the key is, I want you to have a great job. So tell us your goals and ask us how you can get there, and we'll tell you. So keep that in the back of your mind. You know, it is the 4th of July, which is one of my favorite holidays of the year. My team and I are offering a 30% discount off of all programs except for our Elite program. I strongly encourage you to take advantage of it. You're never going to get a better deal on our products or services. And the average cloud architect earns $800 a day or $16,000 a month. If you desire to be an architect every day you're not working, trying to think about self-studying is costing you $800 a day. I'd rather you see you get the great training, which with the sale is 2 days pay, and get hired a year earlier and put another $200,000 in your pocket. But that's just me. I want the best for all of you. So ask your questions so we can help you get whatever career you want kicked off and you can rise to the top. How about you, Alonzo?
Couldn't have said it better. I think what I want to emphasize again is that just today, we've gotten those great messages about people are getting hired. And that's just something that we live for. I get excited about it because you get a chance to see someone start at ground zero, regardless of their experience, and rise to the top to actually get that offer letter. So it changes who you are. It gives you more confidence. It gives you more capability. It puts that stamp on you that everything that you worked for has come to fruition, and you're ready to take off in a new trajectory, in a new life, not only for you, but for your family, generational wealth, all these good things. So I get excited, I get stoked, and I am ready to do that for these people here. If you have not joined in, if you have not become a client of ours, just think about all the things that you can do by using tech and becoming a cloud architect in that space and just watching your life change for the better.
All right, so let's get to the first question here, and this one is for you, Mike, from Minwin. Mike, what is the day-to-day of a cloud security architect like?
Minwin, let me tell you, it's not what you think it is, and I've been an architect and a specialist architect for decades now. A lot of what we'll be doing is presenting at executive briefings. Our organizations typically have a beautiful place where they fly in the CEO, CIO, CTO, for example, and there we'll have a day where we'll discuss things with them. Perhaps some of the VPs of sales will come in, some of the VPs of architectures will come in, and you will come in as well. And you will present how our solutions can improve the customer's business performance, security, and systems like that. In addition to executive briefings, you're going to be responding to RFIs, RFPs, RFQs, requests for information, requests for proposals, and requests for quotes or pricing. You will be leading team meetings, and you're going to be in a lot of meetings. You may lead a meeting of several people to get something designed, because you may be a cloud security architect, but you may want to also work with an IAM architect at the same time as part of your security architecture. And you'll be consulting to general architects as well as other sales engineers with regards to their solutions. You're going to be writing a tremendous amount of documentation about your architectures. You may be writing thought leadership documents. You may be working conference booths or speaking at conferences. You may be writing magazine articles. One thing you're going to be doing is a lot of entertaining clients. So Minwin, when I became an architect, at some point I had to take golf lessons. I actually took sommelier lessons and had to learn how to pair the right wine with the right food. And truth be told, I took scotch picking lessons too. I hired some experts that would teach me how to pair the right scotch and how to entertain clients, because entertaining clients is a huge part of this. One thing you won't be doing, Minwin, is touching the technology. That's not part of your job. You're going to be designing it, presenting it, and selling it. So meetings, sales calls, more meetings, more sales calls, more dinners, more lunches, and cocktails with clients. That's pretty much what you're going to be doing all day, every day. But you're also going to have to spend some of your day trying to get better. You know, I always talk about the business skills, the sales, the ROI modeling piece, the leadership piece, the CXO relevancy piece, but we got to keep our tech skills sharp too. So I like to say, you know, spend 2/3 of your training time on the business acumen piece and 1/3 of your time on the tech. And here's the key secret: as architects, our job is to transform the business, not build the technology. So if you don't have that business transformation knowledge, you're not an architect, you're an engineer. So, but all in all, designing, presenting, and selling technology solutions and everything that gets part of the design sales process, meetings, and a whole lot of meetings.
All right, let's go with our next question here. Claudio asks, hello, Mike, why are the soft skills more important than technical skills? Does this depend on the job I'm interviewing for?
Well, Claudia, it depends on the career. When it comes to architecture, I'm not going to say one's more important than the other, but I'm going to tell you this. You can have the world's greatest technical skills and no one will ever hire you because they can't if you don't have good soft skills. So I want you to really understand what we do. We design a solution to improve our customers' business performance, and then we got to sell it to them. Now, here's the thing. To get access to the right information, we have to ask the right questions. And we have to know which questions to ask, and they have to be open, honest, and non-judgmental. For example, I remember training with a nurse practitioner. And she said, Mike, nobody ever drinks, smokes, or uses alcohol. And I said, what do you mean? She said, I interviewed 32 people today and not a single one drinks, smokes, or uses alcohol. And I said, can I interview a patient with you? And she said, yes. She said to the patient, you don't drink or smoke or use drugs, right? And all the patients said, no. And then I said, let me help you with the next one. Ma'am, question for you. Do you drink alcohol? A little. How much? Twice a week I have a glass of wine. I said, okay, great. Do you smoke? No, I really don't smoke. My brother died of lung cancer. I'm not interested in that. Do you consume any drugs? And she said, once a month I like a little marijuana. And I said, okay, now I got access to the right information because I answered the questions properly. Now, the reason I give you a medical example is this reason. You have to get the right information to the client from the client. And if you ask the questions the wrong way, you won't get the right information. First, you're not going to know which problems you even need to solve. Because, Claudio, as an architect, our job is to improve their business. And if we can't ask about their business, we don't even know what problem they actually have. We're going to think tech, not business, which is a huge problem. So first, it's that. So first, we've got to get the information, and that demands massive communication skills and the emotional intelligence to ask them. Now, after we interact with our client, we've got to go build a team of people to help us design the solution. You know, I work on architectures where it takes 50 people to actually design them, and they're billion-dollar-plus architectures. Guess what? I've got to build a team to do that. No one person can do it. So now I got to build a team of 5 to 50 people and convince these people to want to work for me. Got to have good sales skills, leadership skills for that. Sales and leadership. Now, I'm also going to convince my company that I need resources. I got to go sell the management to give me resources. Why do I have to sell and justify it to the management? If I need 6 architects and each architect costs $250,000 a year fully loaded cost, I need $1.5 million a year of people. I've got to build a justification to give me that. Now, part of the sales process involves getting to know your clients. It means taking them to golfing, Super Bowls, drinking with your clients, taking them for sushi, taking them for scotch. So again, that's another hands-on thing. Then we've got to present the solution back to them and convince them they need it. That means sales. Now we got to negotiate a deal with the sales team. So all that takes soft skills. So if you don't get the right information, you don't solve the right problem. In programming, they like to say garbage in, garbage out. Same thing in medicine. Can't get the right information, can't make the right diagnosis. No different in architecture. Can't get the right information, can't design the right architecture. And because our job is so aligned with sales, and here's the thing, Claudio, we're going to get paid either bonus or commissions based upon our sales. And if we don't deliver sufficient sales in our team, our manager's going to get fired. So they're not going to hire anybody that can't sell. So that's why these customer-facing skills are so critical. Now, here's the other thing to keep in mind. Your humanity is what makes you special. I mean, as architects, we don't code. I don't really know what kind of career you want, although it says Claudio Cloud Architect. I'm assuming it's cloud architecture. But for example, I can use generative AI to write code. I don't need a person to do that. But generative AI can't go to a CEO and ask him about their business. So the more these soft skills you have, not only the higher your salary is, but the more employable you are. And also, let's talk about the things that really boost your salary and performance long term. I love tech. In fact, my new Mac Mini came today. Not Mac Mini, Mac Studio. With the 24-core CPU. My last one is actually 9 months old. But I still had to get a new one because it's new, because that's how much I love tech. Any new piece of technology, I buy it, play with it for a little while. I either keep it or sell it on eBay for half of what I bought it for. And I don't even care because the experience of learning about it and playing with it is fun for me. But that's just me because I love tech. But you know, nobody's going to pay me for any kind of real salary for just knowing tech. They're going to pay me for what I can use the tech for and how I can apply the technology. So look at it this way, Claudio. The average person with strong business acumen skills earns $557,000 a year. The average person with just strong tech skills is in that $100,000 to $150,000 range. Soft skills can take somebody from $150,000 to $300,000. So my suggestion, make yourself equally good with soft skills as you are with tech skills, because I want you to have the best career. Great question, Claudio.
All right. Let's go with our next question. If the cloud security architect is my first official tech job, how do I position myself as qualified for the job? Every place wants 5 to 10 years of experience.
Minwin, let me give you a secret. If you applied for Burger King, they want as a cook, a fry cook, they want 5 to 10 years experience. If you apply to work at a front desk in a hotel, they want 5 to 10 years experience. If you apply to help desk, they too want 5 to 10 years experience. Cloud admin, which is the bottom of the barrel in terms of salary and career advancement, again, they want 5 to 10 years experience. So don't worry about experience, worry about competency. Here's what employers care about. Can you actually do the job? You interview 1,000 people, I'm going to tell you, you're going to probably get 1,000 people that cannot do the job. So can you do the job? And if you can demonstrate your competency in that interview, you get hired. It doesn't matter. Next, can they trust you? Now, I've interviewed over 6,000 technology professionals, and 99% of them have lied to me. Sad reality is I can't hire somebody I can't trust. So I used to keep cookies in my office, and I don't eat butter, sugar, flour, any of that. And every time somebody would lie to me, I would just feed them cookies for about 15 minutes. So I didn't have to ask him any more interview questions because I don't like when people lie to me and I don't hire people I can't trust. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So the next thing that they really care about is, do you know what you know and do you know what you don't know? And here's the reason that matters. People that don't know their limitations make major, major mistakes. So they want to know you know your limitations. They want to know that you can communicate for the following reasons. If you can't get the information, guess what? They can't hire you because you won't be able to design anything, but it's more than that. If you don't communicate well, you're going to cause team conflicts. And you can be the person that raises the energy on the team. For example, I got this super child that works for us. She walks in the room and we all feel great. We all have output that's 20% better just because we said hello to Chow that day. And so those are one of those kind of things that really, really helps us a lot. That kind of attitude. Can you raise the energy in the room? Now, we also care, are you energetic, enthusiastic, and passionate about the work? Beyond that, we care if you're a good team player and if you're willing to go above and beyond. So the key is when you're asked a question, answer it with competency. And when you show that you know, all those other things fall back. Now, here's the last thing to remember, Minwin. 50% of what we care about is your ability to do the job, and 50% is the other stuff. The soft skills, the emotional intelligence, the business acumen, the leadership, all that's the other stuff. So when it comes to be your first job, you're not going to be as good as the person with 25 years experience in the tech piece. But if you can be perfect on the soft skills, the emotional intelligence, the energy, enthusiasm, and passion, wow, you can be 50 out of 50 there and maybe 35 out of 50 on the competency. On a scale of 100%, you're now at 85%. The average person, realistically speaking, may come in at 50% or less. So that's how you do it. So the key is when somebody asks you a question, you answer it, and you answer it in depth, and you show that you know. And then in the end, the last thing that I would say is I like to take your experience in life. So I'll give you an example. When I went on my first tech interview 25 years ago, I had been practicing internal medicine. And my hiring manager asked me a very simple question, to be a network architect, okay? Like no experience whatsoever, a couple months. And he says to me, Mike, you've never been an architect before. How do you think you're going to do the architect job? And I said, Dave, it's very simple. I said, in my old job, where I was practicing internal medicine, I asked the patient about whatever challenges they had. Then I asked a series of questions to get to the information. From there, I would do an exam and see what I could find. From there, I'd make a diagnosis and build the plan. Now, as an architect, what am I going to do? I'm going to meet with my client and figure out what their business goals, pain points, and challenges are. Then I'm going to ask them a series of questions to try and get to the heart of the matter of what the real problem is. Then I'm going to bring in some engineers and they're going to examine the systems. Then I'm going to make a diagnosis and a treatment plan. So the reality is I'm doing the same job that I went to school for 7 years that I've actually been working for. He shook out his hand and he hired me. Until I got my first architect job by talking about my last job. So do all those things we showed you, Minwin, and you're going to be fine. But you got to be great. But at least students that actually train with us get an internship program, which they can put on there, which actually looks like a job. And in that internship, they have real things. See, when somebody puts projects on a resume and a hiring manager looks at them, they throw it out. But if you've actually got something that looks like a job or an internship and all the things you did are inside of that, Now you've got something that a hiring manager is going to be impressed about. So those are the things you need to do. How about you, Alonzo? You have any thoughts here?
Absolutely. I know you've covered a lot of great content here. And I believe the same thing is that applying, it doesn't matter about 5-10 years experience. I think a lot of what we've discussed, and we have this inside joke, is that, say, for instance, they want a cloud architect role, and they want 10 years of Kubernetes and all these extraneous requests for technology, experience in technology that wasn't really even invented, let alone in service at the time. So we really talk about competency because we already explain, and we really help people to understand that a lot of these roles that they have out here are in they're incorrect, to say the least. It's like making a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy, and the more copies you make, the more distorted the image becomes. And this is the same premise here. So we know what a cloud architect is. We know what the roles, what it entails, and what competency that you need to be successful. So based on what Mike has said, it's so true. And also being able to equate a lot of the key relationship, emotional intelligence, and other business related competencies from prior jobs and relate those to the cloud architect position is going to be really key to helping you get that job as well.
Right. So it looks like our next question is another one from Claudia.
Mike, if the ideal candidate needs to have strong emotional intelligence, communication skills, business acumen, is a team player, and et cetera, why do so many people get obsessed about certifications? That's a good question.
Claudia, I have no idea. And here's what I really see is going on. There's those of us that actually work in the industry that are executives and have made it. And when people ask us questions, we say we don't even care about certifications. And then there's people selling certifications that have actually never had the job as an architect in the first place. In fact, it's been over 3 people that have personally asked me that have Udemy courses on certifications that have actually asked me to teach them to help them get their first cloud architect job. Guess their certification business teaching things they didn't understand isn't working so well for them. But the point is, I hate to say it, but often in employment, there's an us and them philosophy, the worker versus the manager. I hire people and I interview thousands of hiring managers, and they don't care about certification. In fact, we have VPs that have come on our channel and they say, I don't care about certifications. So the key is who are you asking? Are you asking a principal architect or a distinguished architect that's been in the industry for 15 years that has already made it to a $500,000 position? Or are you asking people that are cloud engineers, which is more engineering or which is more certification oriented, about an architect job? I saw a video made the other day by all engineers on what a cloud architect needs to be. And I thought that would be like me, who practiced internal medicine, writing a book on what a cardiothoracic surgeon needs to learn. How would I know? It's not a job I've ever had. So that's really the key, is who are you getting your advice from? Are you getting it from people that have made it to the top? Or are you getting it from people that are trying to get there? When I was in college, there was a really interesting video. It was called, picture. It was called Parable of the Blind. And you had a blind person grabbing another blind person on a shoulder, grabbing another blind person. And literally speaking, they had no idea where they were going because each one of them was there. So, I'm going to tell you what I did, Claudia, in the beginning of my career, which got me to a principal architect state inside of 2 years. Typical principal architect now is about a $500,000 job. So when I got my first architect job, the first thing that I did is I found the VP of architecture. And I said, what is your perception of the best architects in the world? I said, if I want to be in the top in the future, what do I have to do to get there? And the first thing he said to me is, don't overly focus on certifications. He said, certifications, no matter, even the CCIE is all intro level. It's vendor brainwashing, where they teach you just the stuff to know how to sell their stuff, but not enough how to do it. He said, pick one thing. He said, for you, what do you like? And I said, BGP. And he said, okay, you focus on BGP. And he said, live it, eat it, breathe it, and sleep it. And then he said, Mike, your tech skills are only going to get you so far. And he says, good news, Mike. You communicate real well, but I want better. And he sent me to some more presentation skills training and some soft skills training. Within 2 years, I was a principal architect. Now, I'll give you another thing, Claudia. Once I actually reached the most elite level of architectures where I was leading an entire vertical for one of the world's largest tech companies as an architect, my manager asked me to remove the certifications from my business card. He said they made me look like a junior person as opposed to the executive. So my company actually told me to remove the certifications that my company actually had from off of my business cards. So that's the key is, if you ask people that are really architects that have made it to the top, their secrets to success, they're not going to tell you certifications. If you ask people that have never done the job, they're going to be certifications. Or the certification providers sell certifications. The worst thing you can hear for is when someone tries to sell you a bundle. For example, an architect designs, presents, and sells. So they need to learn networking, data center, cloud skills, sales skills, business skills. And then some providers out there are saying, here, I can help you get a lot of certifications easy. Learn SysOps, which is the maintenance person's job. Learn DevOps, which is an automation position for software developers. Learn how to be a developer. The reality is these are all other people's jobs. Imagine a doctor that thought they were going to build their career by becoming a dog walker, an accountant, and an insurance salesperson. It would destroy their career. So don't focus on certifications. Focus on you. You are the secret. You are the solution. Make yourself a better solution. So don't become a jack of all trades and a master of none. Become a warrior of your career. Become the best. Become the tip of the spear, and the world's going to come to you, and you'll have more opportunities than you've ever dreamed possible. Either of you guys want to add to that?
I totally agree. It's you have to tell your story, whether you're starting that job interview or you're actually presenting to prospective clients. One of our clients had mentioned you're selling the sizzle and not the steak. So being able to tell that story about who you are, what your competency is, and that's more important than certifications. And who's going to believe what you're capable of if all you say and all you allow is for these certifications to define, speak, and underscore whatever competency that you may or may not have based upon their definitions of their services, or you're going to be able to take control, become that warrior, and be able to express your competencies, your ability to deliver, be able to understand from beginning to end how services and technologies work, what to do with them, when they would be used, and so forth, and maximize that positioning for your prospective clients. That's where the wins are going to be.
I think you guys covered it pretty good. I'll leave it at that. All right. Carlo asks, how can I demonstrate to the hiring manager I'm a team player? What keywords help me achieve that?
Well, Carlo, it's not about keywords. It's about how you carry yourself. And I say this because everybody's looking for the magic word they can say or the magic one thing they can know in an interview. And it's not that. It's about knowing what to do. So I'll give you a couple examples. When I was a lead architect, people would say, Mike, you did a great job. You just closed that $300 million deal. And I would say, we did a great job. I said, look, I may have led the team, but it was Joey and Billy Bob and Louie and Sarah and Sally that were really out there. Billy Bob did this. Sally did this. Sarah did this. You combined efforts, and all of a sudden they know I'm a team player. So how do you talk about working? You talk about working well with others, or are you demonstrating emotional intelligence in the manner that you communicate? Are you demonstrating your soft skills in the manner that you communicate? Those are the kind of things that demonstrate it to people. Plus, Lonzo, ask me why you should hire me.
Mike, why should I hire you?
You should hire me because I have the capability to truly help your team. In addition to that, I've got great energy, great enthusiasm, great passion. I've closed billion-dollar deals. I'm a great team player, and I've enhanced the efficiency of every team that I've been on. I showed it right then and there. So there's opportunities where you can inject it in the conversation. Tell me about yourself. Okay. Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a cloud architect with 25 years experience. I've worked on billion-dollar plus technology architectures. I know I've coached thousands of technology professionals over the year, and I know how to bring out the best in others and truly solve our customers' problems. Put it in there. You're energetic, you're enthusiastic, you're passionate. When you're going to have multiple opportunities to implant these things. So when you answer a question, don't make it about you. Make it about what you can do for them. I want to share the difference with you. I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. I really can help you. I'm not hiring that person. I demonstrate my competency and I talk about those that I've helped others and those that I brought up. Now I'm somebody special. So demonstrate it in the manner that you carry yourself. Show yourself as a leader, because there's nothing that's ever done by one person. Almost nothing. There's this African proverb that I really love, and it says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Steve Jobs used to quote that as well. And the key is it's true. You're only going to go so far. Because who do you really want, Carlo? One person with 40 years experience or 50 people with 15 years experience? 750 years of experience combined or 40 years? Tell you what, the guy or girl that leads that 50-person team has 710 more hours than the person with 40 years experience. That's the person I want on my team. If you guys want to add, let me know.
Yeah, I think the thing here is, and I mentioned this on LinkedIn. I made when I commented on your video today, Mike, that like you said, people are looking for that single thing to say, and I can't tell you how many people I've interviewed that they'll literally say, "I'm a great team player," or I work great in a team, or whatever the phrase might be, and then the rest of the interview doesn't match up with that. Just every answer they give, the way that they answer, is indicative of somebody that's not a team player.
Exactly.
So they could put the key word in their answer, but if the rest of it doesn't match up, it's the hiring manager is going to know that you're not a team player. Like, we just know. We deal with enough people that we know by the way someone talks that they are or aren't. So you can't just use keywords. It's not like the hiring manager is not an applicant tracking system.
No.
You're not gonna be able to spit fire the buzzwords and the keywords in the middle of an interview and have it match up. That's not how it works. That's as being part of being a human, we can discern, even if you say all the right things, the way that you say those things will either agree with or betray what you're saying. So yeah, there's not any key words to show that you're a team player. Again, you can say I'm a team player while sitting there shaking your head.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a team player. I love to work with other people. Me as a hiring manager, well, that's not true. Okay, moving on. Yeah. Alonzo, would you like to add anything into that?
Yeah. You've got to talk about it instead of be about it. It shows we observe and think about people who are participants or interviewers. They need to understand that you're not pulling the wool over anyone's eyes, because these people have seen dozens or maybe hundreds of people that week alone. So any twitch, any type of nonverbal, any physical contradiction they've learned how to hone this. And that's how people learn how to do great things, is through repetition. So going through all of this, it's just key to understand that you have to be who you say you are 100% of the time. You go in there, if you're a team player, if I'm hearing a lot about me instead of we, are you have you not provided any assurances or examples about how you laid down yourself and put the other person before you and said, okay, if there was a win, we did it together. If there was a loss, it's on me. It's my responsibility. I took the responsibility for that, whether it was your fault or not. Being able to create solidarity, create teamwork, be able to create a synergistic environment, because your teammates, and if you are a leader, they know that they can rely on you. They know that you're going to be there during the good times as well as the bad times. So it's important to emphasize what you've done as a team player, what you've learned from other people to become a better team player, and how you're going to exemplify what a team player is for this role that you're going for.
This next one is a good one from Claudio. Claudio asked, the architect doesn't work alone, right? There's a team of architects that put a solution together. Will all the architects present and sell as well?
Well, Claudio, every architect designs, presents, and sells. That's our job. I'd say 70% of us work pre-sales and 30% post-sales, and we're still designing, presenting, and selling. The only difference is the customer, the CEO of our company, or is the customer the CEO of our customer? It doesn't really matter. Now, the reality is there's going to be, say, a general cloud architect. And if I'm working as a general cloud architect or an enterprise architect, I'm going to lead a team of the people that design it. So let's say I have my design, and maybe I have a data scientist, big data architect, an IAM architect, a cloud security architect, a cloud network architect, some database professionals along the way, and a whole bunch of other people that help us design it. And then maybe even along the way, there's a proof of concept, and I bring in some cloud engineers and some DevOps engineers to get their hands on it and go build the thing. I'm going to be, as the generic architect, the primary person selling it, along with the account executive and potentially a sales engineer. Those other architects aren't going to be there. So I have to know enough to be able to take those solutions that were designed by all of those people and then sell it back. Now, if it's a huge client, the kind that I work with that are billion-dollar deals, I may bring other architects with me in the sales thing. I might, for example, let's say I was working on a big unified communications or voice and video type thing. I might bring a voice and a video expert with me, which would be appropriate. But typically speaking, once you're going to get to the C-suite, it's just going to be you and the account manager, account executive, global account manager, whatever term they use. So predominantly, it's going to be you. In the front line and behind the scenes, you're going to be able to pull in all those other resources. But under times, if it's big enough, you'll get some of them to help you sell. But you can't bring an army of people into an executive's office. Now, if you're the other resource, chances are let's say you were a big data architect and the cloud architect reached out to you and you're the big data architect. In that case, the cloud architect is actually your customer as the big data architect, and you provide them the information to go sell the solution. Now, Claudia, we're not just managing our people. Like, let's say we needed security and we're on the AWS cloud, Azure cloud, or Google cloud. There's no way that I'm going to be able to use the silly nonsense that they teach in certification or like in the AWS well-architected framework. I can't use AWS WAF for an enterprise security environment. I'm going to need a next generation firewall. So we're also going to be dealing with architects of third-party vendors. Maybe some aviatrix vendors or some Versa Networks vendors or some Nile network as a service people for our WAN, or an AT&T or a Verizon. Maybe on the security side, a Palo Alto or a Fortinet or a Checkpoint or a Cisco. Maybe we need some fancy load balancers and reverse proxies, and we're going to bring in an F5. We're going to have to manage those people as well. So it's a lot of stakeholder management in this job. So there are times where we work post-sales. For example, we've got a lot of people that work for, say, JP Morgan Chase Bank. And because they work for the bank, they're not really commissioned sales reps. But what do? They interview the C-suite, find out what their business goals, pain points, challenges are. Then they go design the solution, present it back to the C-suite, sell it back to the C-suite, and the C-suite said yes. And then they turn it over to the engineering team to build it. So they can be internal customers or external customers, but the job is the same. Design it, present it, and sell it. Great question, Claudio.
All right, next one. How do you respond to the question, but you haven't worked as a security analyst or a cloud security engineer before? How do I make sure you know what you do as a cloud security architect?
Well, the reality is if you're interviewing correctly, you're not going to get asked that question because you're going to be able to control the interview on your own terms. If you get asked that question, it's because you've done something wrong. So get some interview training first to get out of that. But what I would be doing if I was in that bad position because I didn't properly set myself up for the correct interview, I might say, I may lack experience, but I have an extraordinary degree of competency. Why don't you check my competency by asking me some questions and I can clearly demonstrate how I've got the ability to do the job. But if you're answering your questions correctly, you won't be put in that phase. For example, if you're new and you have no experience, there's something that I like to say called shut down the interview. And I'll give you an example. In networking, for some reason, everybody wants to ask everybody, what is the multicast address of an OSPF flow? And I was asked that on my first interview when I had zero experience. And when I was asked this question, I had said, well, are you referring to the multicast address of all routers, meaning all SPF routers or all designated routers and backup designated routers? And the hiring manager's eyes did this. And he said, you know the difference? I said, of course. I said, all SPF routers multicast to 224.0.0.5. And that's where they send their LSAs and their hello messages, etc. And all DR other routers send it to 224.0.0.6. Let me explain to you how the OSPF protocol works. And I said, each router will generate a type 1 LSA specifically to generate all the links that they know about in their domain. I said, now, if it's on a broadcast multi-access segment like Ethernet, we're also going to have a designated router and a backup designated router, and they're going to send their type 2 LSAs to 224.0.0.6. I said they're going to send their 224, I'm going to say they're going to send their type 2 LSAs. And I said, now, intra-area, once we get outside of those areas, they're going to generate a type 3 LSA. Now, of course, we're going to have external links coming in, maybe from a redistributed protocol, and they're going to come in as a type 5 LSA. And here's the reality. We have to know how to reach those ASBR routers, and we're going to do that with a type 4 LSA. By the time I was done, the hiring manager just stopped and he said, Mike, I get it. You have all the competency to do the job. So I showed him that I knew more than most of his people. Now, at the end of that interview, Minwen, the vendor said, I'm going to hire you. He said to me, Mike, I do have a problem with you. He said, you applied to be a network engineer, but the reality is you're a senior network engineer and I have to make you a senior network engineer. And I looked at him and he said, look, I know you don't have experience, but you're already better and more capable and competent than my staff, at least 2/3 of them. So I have to put you here. And that's what I did. So the key is prove it to them that you're good. And then this becomes irrelevant. And I didn't want to get lost on networking terminology, but I did it to prove the point. Sometimes you're going to have to get that deep to show you're capable when you don't have experience. So show them. Demonstrate your expertise. Show them that you know better than half of the people on their team, and you'll walk out of there with a really great offer, maybe even for a better job. And that's how people like Al, who got his first job as a senior solution architect with zero experience, and I'm sure he got asked the same question. And that's how everybody that I know that gets asked these questions gets hired. Prove to them that you're so valuable that nobody cares.
All right. So the next one is a two-parter. Hi guys, I would like to become an AWS solution architect and work directly for AWS. But in the country where I live, the Czech Republic, they don't have any open positions for this role. How should I approach this? Should I write them anyway if there's this possibility, or should I contact some external recruiters who might have some contacts? Also, I'm afraid about the salary here. Thanks.
Dan, my strongest recommendation is to forget about AWS. They are one of a billion of millions and millions and millions of employers. And they're also the lowest paying cloud provider of anybody out there. And they're in a freeze right now. Guess what? They're not the only employer. Google pays more. Azure pays more, all in all. You can work for any bank that you know. For example, Goldman Sachs one year gave their average employee a $600,000 bonus. Don't limit yourself to a single employer. So it's kind of like saying, I want to be an NFL player or a football player, whichever you're in, and I only want to be on this team. So if there's 100,000 cloud architect jobs out there right now, or 200,000 or 300,000, and AWS has 50 of them, why would you limit yourself to 50 out of several hundred? So what I would do is I would train to be an incredible cloud architect. Realize that 98% of organizations are multi-cloud. Develop real architect skills, real good ones. Develop the business skills, the leadership skills, the sales skills, the executive presence, the emotional intelligence. And then go work for an AWS competitor like Azure, or go work for a big bank. Rise to the top there, and if you still want to work for AWS, they'll do anything to pay you to get them from their competitors and pay you a lot more. But, I want you to not think about just a single employer. I mean, I was a principal architect in 2 years. And, this is a principal architect at Microsoft. It pays on average $379. This is a principal architect at Google, which pays $508 on average. AWS comes in at $372. So it's the least of all the cloud providers. So don't limit yourself to a single employer. I think that is not good for your career. Go out there, become great, get a great job. And then if you want to go to AWS, it'll be simple. But, it's challenging enough for your first job. I mean, we get people hired every day as cloud architects, and it's nothing for us, but we spend between 500 and 700 hours where other people just do 20. And that's why we're so good at what we do, because we're expert architects. But I would never tell my students only try and apply to one company. It's honestly like being 13 years old and saying, I want to marry this supermodel. And only this person. I'm not going to date anybody else in the entire world. And miss out on all the wonderful people that you might meet. My recommendation is you don't do it. Go out there and find the best thing that makes you happy. What if you interview with AWS and find you hate it? Because you might. You might also find you love it, but you're not going to know until you've actually worked there. So don't limit yourself to any one company. When I started my career, the only company I ever wanted to work for was Cisco. Where did I start? WorldCom, which is now Verizon. Then I went to Wall Street, which paid me more than I ever could have imagined. That was kind of nice. After that, I became a principal architect and went to Comcast. From there, I went to Riverstone. And then Cisco finally made me an offer I couldn't refuse. 6 or 7 years into my career, and I really enjoyed it there and spent a long time there. But if I tried to start at Cisco, probably wouldn't have got hired in the first place. Because when I went into tech, when I really got my big jobs, that was after the dot-com bust. And Cisco did a massive layoff. And when I ultimately went to Cisco in 2003, it was during a hiring freeze. I just had a special skill that nobody had, so they hired me during the hiring freeze, which our students are still getting hired because of special skills every day. But please don't limit yourself to one company. Please. How about either of you guys? Do you have any perception on that?
Yeah, I definitely have to chime in. The big three is what we call them for the certifications. That will be AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Platform. They have inundated the industry with this valuation of certifications. If you know them, because they're the big players. We all know their names, their household amongst any IT community. However, somehow they've become the currency of value that people gauge their value, their competency, their ability to do the job against that. And it's been tarnished because people are quite honestly cheating to get to those certifications. They have people that are literally, you can pay people to take the certification for you, and they'll put your name on the certification to give you that type of stamp of approval, or people are actually getting access to the exam information, which again tarnishes the value of these certifications. But the worst of it all is that it's being branded, marketed, that if you know one, you know everything about the cloud. If you know all of them, then you are guaranteed a future in IT and cloud architecture and any of the disciplines, and that could be furthest from the truth, because it only gives you, it's like peeking through the AWS door, their keyhole of what their perceived architecture, value, and understanding of what it is. You're looking at those 3 doors versus opening that full door, going through an agnostic one and seeing the entire lay of land and understanding that there's far more to agnostic architecture and architecture as a whole than just their perspective of it. So it's important that people know that you have to be competent as a cloud architect. And if you want to become a SME and hone in on these specific competencies, then get that certification, get that frosting on the cake of competency that you are, and it'll help you far. It'll be far more valuable than you. Unfortunately, how I learned it is that I learned more about the big 3 instead of understanding the agnostic architecture as a whole.
All right, guys. I think you guys covered that one pretty good. So I want to let everybody know that if you've got any questions, make sure to ask them here. Yeah. We're here for just a little bit longer, so make sure to get those questions in. I got a couple of questions left, and we'll get through those. But yeah, if you've got any questions, get them in here. And if we don't have any more after we answer these, we'll sign off and see y'all tomorrow. But I look forward to your questions. Don't be shy. This is usually when everybody comes in with those questions.
Usually.
Yeah.
Actually, it's usually right before we're ready to leave.
Right.
We don't get to them.
At the 11th hour.
So here's our next question from Johnny Boy. Can I finish Google Cloud Professional in 2 to 4 months? I'm a beginner into cloud, but I'm a fast learner and I understand fast and tech related stuff, but I don't know about this one.
Johnny Boy, you could pass that exam in 2 days if I gave you the right website to get the question and answers. And that's what most of the people do. Now, Johnny Boy, just passing a certification is going to be meaningless to you. So I suggest you tell us what you'd like to do, and then we can figure out how to get there. But a certification is just a piece of paper. You can't get hired with it. You can't pay your electric bill with it. You can't go to the bank and ask for a loan with it. It just said that you can pass an exam. And Johnny Boy, I actually was curious about that exam several years ago because it was the only cloud I hadn't worked on. I bought the book, read their book. 2 days later, I honestly took the exam, and it was a nothing exam. But that was me, somebody that knew cloud computing. My suggestion is you learn cloud computing. You learn all of the underlying technology, how it works. Because if you want to be an architect or an engineer, you can't do anything if you don't know how it works. Learning how to touch it and configure it doesn't teach you how to design it at all. It teaches you how to configure it. So my recommendation is learn all these things and then get any certification you want. You get an AWS one, Azure one, Google one. Now, Johnny Boy, I'm going to caution you from a career perspective. The Google Professional Cloud Architect is the least valuable certification out there. Almost no one uses the Google Cloud. And the only reason the Google Cloud is coming to be is 98% of customers moved multi-cloud. Azure is the primary recipient of multi-cloud, and Azure actually is the biggest cloud in terms of revenue. Microsoft is also, by revenue, the #1 security provider. And it looks like Microsoft is going to have the dominant edge in the cloud computing space because they just invested $10 billion in AI. Now, AWS can say we invested $100 million, and Microsoft invested $10 billion. Now, you think which one of these in the future is really going to have some potential? Now, I do believe Google is going to climb and it is growing, but if I was going to do a first certification, I would either do the AWS Certified Solution Architect Professional or the Azure Solutions Architect Expert. I'd probably put another certification there, either a networking one, because the cloud is nothing more than a network in a data center, it's like a CCNP. If it was security, I'd probably do a CISSP. But again, certifications don't get you hired. Certifications don't give you job skills. They just give you a little certificate that you can stick on your resume. So what do you want to do? Let us know that and we can help you get there. But passing a certification is nothing, and you could easily do it. But having the skills to have a career is a completely different thing. And that's where I really want to get you.
All right. And here these questions come rolling in. All right. So
Here we go.
Let's see. We answered this in the chat box, and you can see it up above us on the screen. Just joining now, is there a discount for 4th of July? If so, how do I go ahead and apply it? So, of course, like I said, we answered this in the chat box, but we have our 4th of July discount, 30% off. Decided to start a little early for everybody. And so that's available for all of our programs except for our Elite Cloud Architects program. And that's available for all the payment plans and payment options on all of those programs. So that includes our award-winning Cloud Architect Career Development Program as well. So that coupon code is July 4th, 2023. And like I said, all of that information is there in the chat box and in the description. Huang asked, what should Cloud Architect and Principal Architect do during the trial period, and what is easily overlooked? So I want to start this one off. If we're talking about that 90-day probationary period, whatever your boss tells you.
To the letter.
Now I will let Mike and Alonzo answer.
So the key is, first thing you need to do is find your manager's goals and exceed every last one of them. The next thing you need to do is when you go to meetings and they're doling out work, be the first person, I'm on it, I'm on it, I'm on it, and show that you'll go above and beyond. Now, the next thing is you got to go meet people. Go out there and take your corporate credit card and take people to lunches and drinks. Go out there every single day for about a month and get to know new people, because you're going to need those relationships to be successful. If there's a conference and they're looking for presenters, make it be you. If there's an opportunity to teach something to the group, make it be you. If they're looking for somebody to document something, make it be you. So the real key is to go way above and beyond. And if you have the ability to close some big deals, that means sell something, go do it. And also really start working with others and show your value. And let your manager know what you're doing and who you're working with, so they know you exist. So the first 90 days of any job, you need to make an impact. But find what your manager's goals are first. When I joined Cisco, I was there, and my manager never gave me anything to do when I first joined. It was the second day, and I'm knocking on his office door. Don, could you tell me what I'm supposed to do? I said, because I want to make an impact. I'm here. Yesterday, I did all my HR forms. I did this, this, and this. Now, what can I do? I want to get to work. And he says, Mike, go meet people. I'm like, huh? He says, just go meet people. I had no idea the level of relationships I was going to need to be to design these massive architectures. So what did I do? I went and met people all day. I ran around the office. I don't even go to an office, but I went to the office every day for 30 days. Went out with everybody, took them drinking, got them drunk. When people are drunk, they kind of loosen up. It's really easy to develop a relationship with them. I don't really drink more than one glass of wine anyway, so I never was drunk, but it looked like I was because, I'm pretty good at slowly drinking things. And I got to know a lot of people. Took lots of people to lunch. And then 2 weeks later, my manager said, guess what, Mike? Most strategic deal in the entire company. I need you to lead it. And I'm like, well, okay. Who did I call? All those people I had relationships with. Closed that deal, got multiple promotions, and got out of that role and into major lead enterprise architect roles, which was the best thing that happened to me. So, the first 90 days of everything, do as much as you possibly can. Show yourself as a leader, an energetic, enthusiastic, passionate person. You do a project with somebody else. Send an email to your manager or managers that you closed a big deal. Credit the person that was with you. Show yourself as a good team player. Even if you lead it, talk about the project and all the people and how critical they were. That's what you do. That's how you shine. That's how you stand out.
Totally agree, Mike. That the first 90 days is your make or break branding opportunity, okay? Because no one knows who you are. You're going to stand out like a lightning bug in the dark because no one knows who you are, how you work, anything about you. So automatically they're going to brand you with anything that they want until you counter them with excellence, counter them with competency, counter them with security, loyalty, and so forth. So the first thing, and this could easily be a very long conversation, but I will definitely try my best to condense it. But first, promote yourself. Second, think about how you can accelerate your ability to do the job as quickly as possible. And that is also through asking questions. Talk about the relationship, or ask about the relationship with the people you meet, your role to their role. How was it before? Was it with the person that was in your role, your predecessor? How can you improve upon those relationships? Start asking those questions. These are the times where not to harass people, but this is a bit of a pleasant interrogation, because you want to know these people. You want to say, how can we maximize and build these projects together? How can I best be a part of this team? What needs to be done, and how can I get it done? You think about how your strategy of success can align with the strategy of your hiring manager, of your leader, of your manager. How can you leverage your abilities right now until you're able to effectively ramp up into the role? One thing that you need to do is secure your wins early. Anything that you can do that you can win, get that low-hanging fruit, so that you're able to show that you're easy to get along with. You're quick to learn. You're easy to absorb the information. You're not easily rattled. You're able to be accessible. You have your camera on. If there's something that needs to be done, get it done. Ask them how it needs to be done, when it needs to be done, and the efficiencies of how to best represent your team lead. So these are just a quick, fastest. This could be an easy conversation that we could talk about for hours, but overall, your trial period defines who you are, and it could very well solidify what people perceive about you for the rest of your career in that organization.
Right. So let's move on to our next question from Helen. Mike, you said it's not advisable to limit yourself to one company, example AWS, but what if I've started their lesson already? Can you learn the rest as well, or how do you go about it?
Okay, Helen, let me separate certification from actual knowledge. If you took every AWS certification and passed all 10, you won't have the skills to do any job. Now, you will know the name of an AWS service, and you may even know how to configure it, but you're not going to know what it is. We interviewed 1,000 AWS people, certified people, and about 300 AWS certified solution architect professionals, and asked them architecture questions. Not a single one could answer a basic question. And here's the reason why. You take a certification and they tell you to secure your system with WAF and Shield and Network ACL and a security group. You can't do that in real life. You're going to need next generation firewalls and intrusion detection, intrusion prevention systems, and SIEM and data loss prevention, and none of the stuff that's there. So let's try to really give you what it takes to understand. Let's say you need to know, what a virtual machine is, and you're trained properly, and you understand that you take a bare metal server, meaning a server with nothing, you smack a hypervisor on it, and then from there the hypervisor will enable you to take CPU, DRAM, GPU, and network resources and divide it to multiple virtual or logical computers. It's called the virtual machine. Guess what? In AWS, they call that an EC2 instance. Who figure what marketing people made up that silly name? Azure calls it an Azure virtual machine. Google calls it a compute engine instance. Oracle calls it a virtual machine. It's the same thing. So don't use certification as a means of training, because all it teaches you is the name of it, but it doesn't teach you what it actually is. And I know this because I asked 1,000 AWS certified people, what is a virtual machine? And only 5 of them actually knew. Now, that's because they worked in VMware in their previous career. It was really scary. Now, that's the problem. So learn the tech, not the marketing names. And if you do that, it doesn't matter. Block storage, great. If it's an Azure Managed Disk or AWS EBS, it's the same thing. Same block storage for the last 30 years. Object storage, guess what? We've been using that for 30 years. Does it matter if AWS calls it S3, or if Google calls it cloud storage, or Azure calls it blob? It's the same thing. Learn the tech, and then you can work anywhere. So Helen, I would ask you this question. I really want you to think about this. If I had 2 choices, I could get you certified on how to drive a Toyota. And I made up stupid names. For example, the steering wheel. I like a silly thing, and I called it an elastic vector rotational angular changer. And then I had this thing to change the gears, and we called it a drivetrain switcher upper. And then we had the gas or the accelerator, and we called it a cloud-based electric potentiometer device. And then we had a brake to stop the car, and we called that an elastic speed upper slower on an emergency basis. You'd be lost and you wouldn't know what it is. Now, what if I taught you how to drive a car? And I took you in my car, my wife's car, or anybody else's car and said, here's how you turn it on. Here's the steering wheel. This is how you change directions. Here's the accelerator. Here's the brake. This is how you stop. And then I said, you can drive a Mercedes, a BMW, a Toyota, an Acura, a Honda, a Chevy, a Ford, a Subaru, because I taught you how to drive. Learn the cloud. Don't waste your time on any of the silly certification business, because all they're going to do is teach you their way of doing things. And guess what? You can't do it on any customer. And here's the reason why. Almost everything in your certification teaches you what not to do. Let's say you want to create an environment for containers. In AWS, they would teach you to use Elastic Compute, the Elastic Container Service. Can't use that because 98% of organizations are multi-cloud. So you need to use Kubernetes. In your certification, they'll talk about DynamoDB. Can't use that either because it doesn't work multi-cloud. Can't use Amazon Aurora multi-cloud. Can't use any of that AWS stuff in today's modern environment. So learn the cloud, learn the underlying tech, and then let the companies compete over you and take the biggest job offer for the highest pay at the company you want to work for, and you'll have a great job.
All right. Not much of a question, but more of a comment, but I figured you might want to speak to this. John says, I can't speak for other certs, but currently studying for Azure Solution Architect Expert Cert, and it's quite comprehensive. I feel it gives you clout when applying for Azure specific roles.
Here's the thing, John. It doesn't cover any architect things. So if you've already been an architect, then it's great. But if I asked you, how would you design a secure DMZ for a web application, which is something an architect might do, it wouldn't be there. If I asked you how to have multiple private lines to a cloud provider without getting out of order packets, it wouldn't explain it. If I asked you how to improve the communication and collaboration between employees to reduce error defects in manufacturing, it wouldn't be covered in these certifications. So if you're already an architect and you just want to learn the Azure stuff, it does a great job. But if you want to actually become an architect for the first time, it doesn't include any actual architecture training for it. But it does look good as a stamp on the resume. It does add cloud as long as you've already got the architect skills. So I would agree with you, if you're already an architect, it will add cloud. But if you're not, it's not going to be enough.
From Kuti, how true is it that someone from a non-technical background can easily transition into cloud computing and understand the full concepts of the cloud ecosystem?
Well, I want to start this one before Mike does it, because I want to answer from someone that is not a expert. That is so, Kuti. Just like anything, it depends on how you're learning. If you're trying to learn by yourself, it's probably not going to work out very well. Now, if you've got someone that has done this, that has been successful in this role, and knows exactly what it takes for whatever role you desire, then you're probably going to have a great experience in transitioning into cloud. So it's you don't say what role you want in here. So that's the key thing. Depending on your role. So let's use cloud architect as an example. You need someone or an organization or something to help train you, help coach you, help mentor you, help guide you along that has actually done it. If you don't have that, then understanding the full concepts is going to be a very long process, and it's probably going to have a lot of gaps. So it's critical that if you want to be a DevOps engineer, find someone that has been successful in that role and can teach and can coach and can guide you. So you're not going to figure it out on, I mean, you could figure it out on your own, whatever it is you desire, but the process is going to be long, laborious, and there's going to be gaps. So I just wanted to I wanted to start that one off because it's critical. You want to become an all-star basketball player? You need someone that knows how to develop all-star basketball players. You want to be an all-star soccer player, football, European football, or everywhere else in the world football. You need someone that knows what it takes to be an all-star football player. So it's the same concept here. Now I'll throw it back to you guys.
So, Kurt, Cootie, it's incredibly true, but you're probably not going to get there on your own. In fact, we basically retrain people every day that have spent 1 to 2 years wasting their time on certification courses. And we take people fresh and we get them hired just as fast as people that didn't work in the tech career, because we teach the career everything you need and nothing else. I'll give you a couple examples. Romanek came to us working as a waiter, and he's now working for AWS as a solution architect. Richard Afukar came to us, and he was unemployed at the time, and now he's a technical account manager at AWS. Coyote was a college student, never had a tech job in his life, and he's now working as a solution architect with AWS. Jeffrey West is now a solution architect, and his last job was as a geologist, and we trained him. We can take Jennifer Emu, who was a mental health tech, and now she's a solution architect with JP Morgan Chase. And while we're discussing JP Morgan Chase, we have Daniel Bosu, who I always say I wish was my son. I love that kid. He came in like a fireball. He didn't even graduate high school, and he's working at JP Morgan Chase as a solution architect. He's like the perfect kid I always wish I had. Love that kid. And because he was 20 years old when he got his job. Wallace Agana also got hired by JP Morgan Chase. And Wallace, for example's last job was actually a sales rep. Now we had Balwinder that got hired by Microsoft Azure as a solution architect, and her last job was she was a stay-at-home mother. Now we recently had Noah, who was a social worker, get his first cloud architect job, and a young man named Vladimir, who got his first job at 24 years old. He never worked in tech before in his life. I really like Al Legister. He came to us. He was a sales rep, and now he's a senior solution architect at Deloitte, and that's his first job. I don't know if I mentioned Wallace. He became an enterprise architect after our training. He's now at JP Morgan Chase. Now Jermaine, he's a funny guy, this Jamaican guy, really funny to be around. His last job was as a landscaper, and he's now working as an enterprise architect after our program. And Cootie, I could give you many, many, many more examples of people that have never worked in tech. And then I have other people like Pritapal Seth John, who were working in tech for 20 years, but they were on the engineering side, and we had to turn them into architects. And we've got a lot of examples like that too. See, engineering doesn't prepare you for an architect job because it's a different career. And no matter where we come from, we need training. Like a nurse, if they want to be a doctor, they still have to go to medical school, even though they probably have a lot of good information because it's a different job. Same thing if a physical therapist wanted to be a pharmacist, they'd still have to go to school, even though they're both in healthcare. You need training for these positions. With the right training, you can easily do it. And I can give you many more examples if you desire.
All right. Okay, so here's a important question from AB. More than the certifications, I'm looking more hands-on stuff. Does the course offer hands-on, and how much is it? Been working in business intelligence, maybe BI space for close to 21 years, looking to shift towards cloud architect role.
Well, we have a tremendous amount of hands-on training, but it's hands-on architect training, not engineering training. That's the biggest mistake most people make. Most people want to be an architect and they learn DevOps, which is somebody else's job. They learn to code Python, and then they go get hands-on. And then they go in an interview and someone says to them, how would you design this? And they say, but I can code a Python script. And they say, how would you design this? And they say, I built this. And they say, how do you design it? Or someone says, how do you design the IP addressing plan for an organization with 20,000 remote locations? What kind of remote access strategies could you use for an organization with 300,000 people across 5 continents? And that's the mismatch. So we do hands-on, but most of our hands-on is actual architecture. In the next month, I have my students doing 2 architectural consulting projects for 2 different businesses, where they're going to do the exact job as an architecture. And in every class, our students do actual architect work, interact, ask questions, design things, present them, and sell them. Now, we do some hands-on engineering labs, but they're not basic ones like you'd see in a certification course. Ours are deeper, like building your own cloud. Now, the reality is, when you do hands-on, and we've got plenty of hands-on labs, it doesn't make you a better designer. So why do we do hands-on labs? Well, we do them so if an employer asks if you've ever done it or been hands-on, you can say yes under the Go Cloud Careers internship. Because we want to make sure that you've got everything and you have no gaps. But the reality is, most of the hands-on work we do is actual architect work. Last Friday, my students responded to an RFP together. What do architects do? They do a lot of responding to RFPs, so I have my students do it. Our students practice presenting technology. Why? Because that's mostly what architects do. Our students practice selling technology. Our students practice interviews, but they're doing the work they're actually doing in the job. You got to remember, as an architect, you're not going to be allowed to touch the technology. If you want to be a hands-on person, don't be an architect, be an engineer. You won't even be allowed. If you ask the architects at AWS or Microsoft, are you allowed to touch your client's technology? They will say no. So you're not allowed to. So we train you in exactly what does an architect do. And our emphasis is on architecture because we train architects. Now in our engineering program, we get people hands-on all day because that's what engineers do. So where people go wrong is they train for the wrong job. Imagine wanting to be a pharmacist and going to school to learn how to be an exercise physiologist. You wouldn't be there. So our training is 100% exactly related to how do you be the world's greatest architect. And our students do exactly the hands-on architect work all the time. And they're tremendously good. And that's why companies fight for our students. And most of our students never even need to apply for jobs. Companies come to them because our reputation, because we were in about 150 different magazine articles, because we're the #1 rated school in cloud computing for the methods that we do. Our methods are very different. And that's why we take everybody else's students, retrain them, and then we get them hired.
All right, so here's our next question. Follow up from Dan earlier. Thanks a lot for your answers, guys. Have you ever had any students from, I never know how to say it right, but Czech Republic, essentially,
No, I think it was Czechia.
who you have helped find a job here? Also, you talk about salaries of $100,000 plus, but I'm afraid it's going to be much lower here.
Dan Davis, we have students all over the world. I've got students getting hired in Dubai. I've got students getting hired in Australia. I've got students getting hired in New Zealand. I've got students getting hired all over Europe. Chechnya is not one we've done yet. Now, having said that, we've got students getting hired in India, Asia, South America, Mexico, Canada, America, so all over the world, all over England, Europe, all those places. Now, when it comes to salary, there is going to be some geographic different things. For example, Chechnya's cost of living is substantially different than the UK's or California's. And if I go to my home in Greece, because I keep a house in Greece, you know, you're an architect, you'll be able to afford several homes if you like. I keep my house on the beach in Greece. And I could live very nicely in my Greek village at 90,000 euros a year. Now, if I was in San Jose, California, if I didn't earn $500,000 a year, I'd be poor. Because the cost of living in San Francisco requires you to earn about $500,000 a year to get by. But if you're in Chechnya, you know, the cost of living there is substantially less. I'm assuming it's Chechnya and not the Czech Republic, by the way you wrote.
No, it's the Czech Republic from his previous answer. He specifically asked about the Czech Republic.
Oh, okay. So here you have Chechnya, and before you had Chechnya. So Prague, the cost of living is literally less than half of what it would be in some of these unsure countries. And I've been to Prague, and it's a beautiful, beautiful place, assuming you're talking about the Czech Republic. So yes, Prague's not a hard place to get hired in. Chechnya might have been a little harder. Prague, definitely not going to be a big deal. We can easily help you over there. Now, again, it's going to be a lower salary than you might get in, say, New York City, but the cost of living is going to be adjusted. So I think you'll do very, very well there.
All right. Afrojack Photography says, hi guys, I just joined late, but I want to be a cloud engineer. I'm pretty interested in cloud and DevOps with less general knowledge. So can you suggest anything?
Absolutely. So I want to help you, Afrojack Photography. First, I need to know the career, because you just mentioned cloud and DevOps, and then you said cloud engineer. And now you're actually in 3 different careers. So which is it? Do you want to be a DevOps engineer, or would you like to be a cloud engineer? Or you mentioned cloud, which can be one of 1,000 different careers. Could you be a little more specific? You said cloud engineer, but then you put in DevOps, which is a completely different career with a completely different skill set. So I want to make sure we get you the right guidance. Could you please clarify that, and we'll come back to you.
All right, while we wait on that clarification, Johnny Boy asked how to start cloud knowledge from roots, basics to advanced from scratch. What's your advice to start before certification?
Join us.
My recommendation is to join us, Johnny Boy, and here's the reason why. If you try to do this on your own, it may take you 3 to 5 years to get there. And each day, the average cloud architect earns $800 a day. That's assuming you want to be a cloud architect. And I don't know what you want to be. So first, we need to know what you want to be before I can guide you. But the reality is, you're going to get there a lot better, a lot faster, and earn a much higher salary if somebody properly trains you. Now, if I'm just talking about cloud knowledge, first you have to understand what is the cloud. It's not this fluffy on-demand access to servers and databases that the cloud providers tell you. You know, that answer about it is about as clear as the Boston Harbor. And if you've been to Boston, you know exactly what I'm referring to. What is the cloud? It's somebody else's network and data center, which means you need to know the network and data center technologies, and then you really know the cloud. So when you start learning about servers and containers and storage area networks and security and routing and switching, then you really know about the cloud. Because all the things are on the cloud are virtual versions of those same things. 20 years ago, we had a physical load balancer. On the cloud, we have a virtual load balancer. In the data center, we have a physical server, which we put virtual machines on. On the cloud, we have virtual machines. In the data center, we have routers. On the cloud, we have virtual routers. In the data center, we have Kubernetes. In the cloud, we have Kubernetes. In the data center, we have firewalls. In the cloud, we have virtual firewalls. So it's really all the same. So get a good, strong knowledge of networking. Get a good, strong knowledge of data centers. And then learn the equivalent things in the cloud. And then you honestly know the cloud. But just knowing that is not really going to be the skills to necessarily get there. For example, if you want to be an engineer, you've got to learn how to build these things and get a lot of hands-on projects. If you want to be an architect, it's not just knowing the tech. It's about knowing how to put the technology together. I'll give you an example. If I gave you chicken by itself, garlic by itself, olive oil by itself, oregano by itself, a little salt by itself, you know, you could have a list of ingredients. Or you can make a souvlaki, which is a delightful Greek dish, which I promise you will absolutely love. But in order to make the souvlaki, you need to know the ingredients and the quantities and how to cook it. So that's the difference between the stuff by itself and the architecture, which is the whole thing. You can think of the head chef at a restaurant that makes a menu and the specials for that day. They're basically architecting the menu. You know, we have access to this wine that just came in that's going to pair well with these nice foods. And there's this new fresh vegetable that I found at the market. That's going to be the menu for the day. So architecture is about tying the pieces and parts together to develop a strategy to improve your customer's business performance, where engineering is about how to build it. So if you give us a little more knowledge on what you'd like to do, then we can get a lot more specific on what you need to learn. If you want to be an architect, I recommend you attend our completely free How to Become the Ultimate Cloud Architect webinar. My team will pop that in the chat box. And not only will we tell you everything you need to know and give you a detailed list, but it'll be on a live webinar platform. We can speak face-to-face live via video, and I can guide you based upon your unique situation, and I'd be honored to do so.
From Josh, question, any preference on which provider would be better for a cloud network engineer position? I'm working on VoIP engineering role with a CCNA and years of NOC and engineering experience.
Josh, they're all the same. I mean, they may have different marketing terms, but BGP is just BGP. And that's really it is. Unified communications, if they're Cisco unified communication servers, does it really matter if we stick them on an IBM server, a Cisco UCS server, an HP server, and those are the servers I used to use when I worked at Cisco on voice engineering, or a virtual machine on AWS, Azure, or Google? No, it's all the same. So the key is having the knowledge. Do you know BGP? Do you know how to deal with the IP addressing plans? Do you know how to route without getting order over packets? Do you know how to select the right kind of WAN technology? When do you use an IPsec VPN versus an SSL VPN versus software-defined networking versus SASE versus a private line? It's all the same. Now, granted, there's some subtle differences on how you do each thing on each provider, but it's all the same. You know, when I did my CCIE back when it was a 2-day exam in 2000, you know, it was pretty interesting. I'd say the Cisco Certified Internet Expert was my intro to networking. And after that, that's when I got to be put on the really complicated projects where I really got to learn. What did I love about the CCNA, CCNP, and CCIE? They're not Cisco proprietary anything. OSPF is just OSPF. If you understand about the LSAs and how it runs the calculation, it doesn't matter if it's a Cisco box, a Juniper box, an Arista box, an Extreme Networks box, it all does the same stuff. So, understand, Chris. So that's really what we're talking about. Learn that tech, really master that tech, and you'll be good to go. You'll be great.
From Helen, how long does it take to train with you for cloud architect training?
Helen, it's until you're hired. See, I can't emotionally be like those other people out there that run boot camps. I don't run a boot camp. I run a professional development program. Here's the difference. When you take our training, you stay with us until you're hired. Because I want to know that everybody that trains with us gets a really elite job by the end of the program. Now, how long it takes is really going to be dependent upon you, but I'll give you some averages just in case. You may be someone that has nothing to do in your life. And I hope that's the case if you're a student, because if so, you can study 12 hours a day and learn stuff almost overnight. You may have a family and have another job and only have 2 hours to dedicate each day, in which case you can still do it. At least 50% of our people work full-time and you'll be great. The real key is how much time do you have, how fast do you learn, and that's pretty much it. How much time do you have to study each day and how fast do you learn? So what we do is we have a very special model, and I'd say it takes 6 to 12 months for the average student to get hired. Now, Helen, I want you to understand how fast that actually is. The average architect earns $200,000 a year, and a good one can easily earn $500,000 a year or more. The only other jobs that pay as much as a cloud architect are things like physicians or attorneys. Now, to be a physician, it's 4 years of college, 4 years of medical school, a 3 to 5 year residency, and $500,000 of debt. To be an attorney, it's 4 years of school, college, 3 years of law school, and $300,000 to $500,000 of debt. And on average, they earn less than we do as cloud architects. So I feel like we've got a program which is normally $2,500 versus $500,000 for these other programs. Right now, it's on sale, I think, for about $1,750 if you take 30% off, which is 2 days pay for the average architect. And it'll take you 6 to 12 months to get you the kind of job that pays as much as a physician or an attorney. So we'd love to train you, Helen. Love to get you to your goals. And I can't wait till you tell me if you train with us that you're hired. James Carter. I have question. I have no experience in the cloud, but I have just finished a postgraduate certification in multiple cloud computing and need advice that's enough to get hired. James Carter. Certifications are the name of a service and how to configure that service. There is no certification in the world except the Cisco Certified Internet Expert that will ever get you a job. And even the Cisco Certified Internet Expert, I'm going to tell you right now, will cost you $20,000 to $40,000 to pass that exam. And you'll have to read between 50 and 75,000 pages to do so. And you will have to practice 16 to 20 hours a week just to pass the exam. That's what I did. And that will generally get you a job. And why is that? Here's the difference. If I send 10 people, the AWS Certified Solutions Architect Professional, which is a very intro-level certification, is 500 pages of reading to pass. The CCIA is 50,000 pages of reading. So it's 100 times deeper. So the key is, what job do you want? And then how to get there. Now, James, if you want to be an architect, I'm going to tell you right now, I have a lot of people that come to me and they've got multiple CompTIA certifications and things like that on their resume. And sometimes we actually have to remove them. For example, I had a student, Arun S. Really like this guy. Really smart, really capable, really technical. Didn't work in tech before, but he was like a tech genius. He kept going on interviews and they kept sending him down weird questions. And I said, Arun, may I see your resume? As part of your program, we optimize your resume. And I looked at it and we dedicated a whole 2-hour class to getting him hired. And I redid his resume. I got rid of his DevOps certifications. I got rid of his developer certifications. I got rid of his SysOps certifications. I only put the architect certification, and we talked about all the architecture things that he did. How to design, how to present, how to sell, and all the things that he did in his internship with us. He had 3 job offers within a month. So the key is, it's not about your experience in the cloud. You don't need that, but you need competency. So where is your competency? What do you know? Tell me that and I can help you. How well do you know BGP? How well do you know solution design? Do you know how to sell $1 billion solution if you want to be an architect? Do you know how to create an ROI model? Do you know how to deliver the kind of presentation to an executive versus a tech professional? Tell us what you want, but it's not like, you've just got some certifications. Now you're postgraduate. If it's an architect, is it in tech, your degree, or is it in business? Because business would be better. So what is it, your actual goal? Now, James, I can tell you there's a company that does master's degrees in cloud computing, and we retrain their graduates every single day and get them hired, because what they're taught is certifications. And they get through and they learn Python and they get Azure and AWS and Google certifications, but they've never been trained to be an architect. What career do you want? We can tell you how to get there from there. I want to help you. Right now, you're just telling me degrees, and no hiring manager cares what your degrees are in, and they don't care about your certifications. They care what you can do for their customers and their business. So I want to get you there. What is it that you really know? It's not your experience. What do you really know?
And from a wall, I originally moved from cybersecurity and got my first gig as a junior solutions architect.
Good.
What are the things I need to focus on to ensure my success in my new role?
Great question, Wall, and congratulations. I'm so happy for you. So here's the key. And solutions architects can be anything, but assuming it's a traditional solutions architect job, your job is to design, present, and sell solutions to your customers, which means your manager is going to be bonused or fired based upon how well their team is at selling solutions to their customers, what kind of customer experience the team delivers to their customer, the level of customer service the team delivers to the customer, and, customer satisfaction. Plus, did you write any thought leadership documents? Did you attend any conferences, present any conferences? So as a rule, if you're a very techie, I want you to understand that let's say you worked in security as a security engineer and you were hands-on configuring firewalls and SIEM systems and things like that. Realize as an architect, you're not going to be able to touch the tech if you're a true architect. You're going to have to design it, present it, and sell it. So how do you sell better? You learn to communicate better. You learn to sell. You learn to build a business case. You learn how to do ROI modeling, etc. How good are your presentation skills? Are you ready to present at big industry conferences? If not, get yourself some presentation training. And I've got lots of people that have gotten their first architect jobs and come to us for presentation training. Or guess what? There's a place called Speakeasy that's fantastic in California. For about $5,000, you can get some good presentation training. Of course, you could take our course and get all the professional development for half of that, but I just want you to know how to do it. So get yourself some presentation training. Get yourself some sales training, and here's why. Your bonus is going to be based partially on how much you sell. If you've got a quota for a year that's $40 million, and now you're coming in at 80 or $100 million, your bonus, you may get an extra $100,000 in pay. So it pays to learn how to sell. And that's how you get promoted. It also is about how good your leadership skills are. So you may be an expert in cybersecurity, and I hope you are, which is great. But now about networking. How about big data? How about databases? How about business applications? How about unified communications and CRM systems? And servers and containers and things like that. Nobody, unless you're a vampire that can live for 2,000 to 3,000 years, can master everything. So your leadership skills are going to be determining how good of a team you can build. The better your team, the better your output, the better your sales, the more everybody loves you, the more money you make, and the faster you get promoted. Now, why am I so obsessed about sales? Your manager is getting his bonus or her bonus based upon how much stuff you can sell. If the manager's team sells a lot, all you guys make a ton of money. If the manager's team doesn't sell anything, the manager gets fired. And before the manager gets fired, he fires all the people that aren't good at generating sales. So don't try to be the ultimate techie. Got to remember, as a security engineer, you're trying to build the security systems. As an architect, you're trying to improve your customer's business performance. So focus on the business. Let the engineers focus on the tech, and you will have an incredible career. And I'm so happy for you. Congratulations on getting your first solutions architect job. Seriously, this is wonderful news. And please keep hopping around. Anything we can do to help you.
Absolutely.
Thrilled you're here, and I really love the good news.
All right, let's go with our next one.
From Kuti, please, which part of cloud computing requires less coding skills? Also, is cloud computing good for a 40-year-old person who is transitioning to this field?
Kuti, if you're an architect, you won't have to touch the technology. It's the best job ever. There's zero coding in there whatsoever. I recommend architecture. Why? Because over time, it'll pay 2 to 3 times more than the engineering jobs. Lots of people love engineering. If you love engineering, great, but you've got a choice. As an architect, you're taking somebody for steak or scotch or lobster and really good wine. As an engineer, you're coming in at 3 o'clock in the morning fixing other people's problems. So I moved out of engineering into architecture. So 40 years old, that's awfully young. Recently, I got Bob Welch. You can see his video on our channel. He was 61 years old. I got him his first architect job. You can see Sig Wolf in Germany. I don't know if we made a video with him. He was 63. I recently got hired. 40 is the perfect age because you have some maturity and you have some wisdom that people are going to take you seriously. And at the same time, you still have all the energy and passion and ability to learn. Now, I've gotten people as young as Daniel Bosu, who was 20 years old, hired. And I've gotten people in their 60s hired. It doesn't matter. What matters is you get the right training, build the right plan, follow the training, and go out there and get hired. And I'm with you. I wouldn't do any job that required coding.
No, I am adverse to that position as well, Mike.
That's why I'm an architect. If I have to code, I must owe money to the mob, and I wouldn't be borrowing money to the mob. There is nothing that I find more painful, and I know this because I had one job where I was a network architect 24 years ago, and I had this manager that wanted me to learn to code, and I was the only network architect they had, but he sent me to Boston to learn to code some Bash shell script in Linux. I said, "Are you sure you want to send your lead architect to go learn to code?" He says, "Yes, Mike, I want you to learn to code." You know what happened? I went away. They had a massive outage. I wasn't there. I was busy learning to code. The chief information officer was fired for trying to ask the architect to code. And when they came back, they said, "Mike, I don't want you touching the tech ever again. Please design, present, and sell like you're supposed to." And I said, "Thank you very much." Hi, Robert. We were just talking about you. Robert, I am so thrilled to see you here. Robert is that wonderful cloud security architect that I was talking about that proves that age doesn't matter. Robert was our student. He followed everything we said to the letter. We gave him instructions on how to use LinkedIn to get jobs. He'd get 10 to 20 interview requests a day. Robert confirmed that if it's true. Robert is one of the most capable security architects I've ever met. I was thrilled and privileged to work with him. Robert, I'm so thrilled to see you.
All right. So our next question is currently our last question. So from MSD, hi guys, I'm interested in a cloud architect career with no prior technical background. Which one of your courses would you recommend I enroll in?
MSD, we have 2 courses that will get you hired. We have our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, which is what got us ranked #1 School of Online Cloud Computing. And we also have our Elite Cloud Architect Program, which is the best program in the entire world. Both of these are far better than anything else that exists out there. Here's the difference. The Cloud Architect Career Development Program will help you get your first cloud architect job, and I can give you a list of people in every country that you can think of that have been hired. The Elite Cloud Architect Program is our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, plus our Tech Interview Mastery, plus our Business Acumen and Leadership Program. And here's the difference. The Cloud Architect Career Development Program, which is currently on sale right now at 30% off, will do a great job of getting you your first cloud architect job. The Elite Architect Program will give you extra business acumen and skills. And here's why we're so focused on those skills. The average salary of someone with business acumen earns $557,000 per year. And by giving you the architect program plus the business acumen in our Elite program, it positions you for 2 or 3 or 4 years from now to get these bigger roles. Now, the average cloud architect salary, which is nothing to get out of, which you can easily get out of our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, is $201,000 per year. But this is prepared to help you get the bigger jobs, jobs with business acumen. For example, a principal architect role with Google, which is an average salary of $508 with a pay range of $394 to $677, or a principal architect job, say, at Microsoft with an average salary of $399 with a range of $300 to $495, or a senior director type role. Here's another job with business acumen you could easily get after a few years as an architect. Average pay is $527,000 per year with a range of $417 to $689, so almost $700,000 a year. Here's another role that requires a lot of business acumen with an average pay of $540 with a pay range of $425 to $709. So that's why our Elite program has this business leadership program, because not only will it make you better when you get hired and it'll help you earn more, but also it'll give you more leadership. Now we match that with our interview mastery program, which is a very special program that's designed to teach you how to be the best interviewer and how to negotiate a higher salary. And here's the reason why. Look at this job. This is a senior director job. We've got people that can easily get these jobs after a couple of years after this program. And, you know, if you look, the bottom end of the pay range is for $425 and the high end is $709,000. I want you to see that. That's $300,000 difference between the top and bottom paid person for the same position. And what is that? It's based upon how well you performed in the interview. So Cloud Architect Career Development Program gets you your first job. Tech Leadership Program gets you the higher paying jobs. And that Tech Interview Mastery Program not only teaches you how to win the interview, but it also teaches you how to get a bigger, higher salary and potentially negotiate an extra $50,000 or $100,000 more per year. So that's our Elite program. So we can either get you there with our Cloud Architect Career Development Program, or we can get you there with the Elite program. Both are extraordinarily good programs. Chris, if you can pop the links to both of those in the chat box. And MSD would be honored to work with you.
All right. And one last question's come in from Helen. What is the average cost of the architecture training? Is there a payment plan?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Payment plans are available. So the Cloud Architect Career Development Program is regularly priced at $24.99, and the Elite Cloud Architect Program is priced at $74.99. I'm going to put a link to both programs in the chat box. I'm also going to put and those links will be to the program pages where you can read more about each of those programs and what all is included in the program in detail. And then you can also enroll from those pages as well based on the options that you choose. We got multiple payment plans and multiple payment options, including credit cards, Google Pay, Apple Pay, Cash App Pay, PayPal, Affirm, Klarna. All these different payment options are available for you. So I'll put those links in the chat box for you. But those are all the questions. So if either, I'll let you guys share your last words before we wrap it up.
Before we do this, Chris, things like Affirm and Klarna, do they offer financing beyond our traditional 3 and 6 month terms?
It depends on the individual.
Okay. But in certain cases, they do.
Yes, it depends on the individual.
Okay. So I want to let you know about a couple things. On Thursday, we have our How to Get Your First Cloud Job webinar. I'd love to see you there. Not only will we tell you everything you need to know how to get hired as a cloud architect, but we can actually have a live conversation. And both me, Chris, and Alonzo are typically there. I'm always there. And we can have a face-to-face video conversation so we can truly, truly help you. Please grab that. The link is in the description below. Any of you can get any job you want. It has nothing to do with your experience. It has nothing to do with your background. It has to do with the right preparation. You need the right plan. You need to execute on that plan. You need the right training, and you need the right preparation, and you can do it. I left internal medicine for tech. Just today, I found that about 2 new people that were hired. Last Friday, there were 2 additional students of ours that are hired. And while others are getting laid off, we're still getting people hired because our special secret sauce of soft skills plus business skills plus leadership skills plus tech skills creates the kind of person that employers can't not hire. So whatever you do, whatever you desire, go after your dreams. When I was working in healthcare and I dreamed of being in tech, everybody told me I was crazy. It was not the first time somebody was crazy, and it's not going to be the last time. And 6 months later, I was a senior engineer. When I injured myself in a martial arts accident 13 years ago, my doctors told me I'd never be able to work again, sit in a chair, or even walk up and down the stairs of my house. I did go to physical therapy 8 hours a day or 7 hours a day for 8 years straight. But here I am getting students hired almost every day in every part of the world. Don't give up. Whatever you do, just fight for your dreams. You can all do it. I don't care if you want to be an airplane pilot. I don't care if you want to be a physician, an attorney, a cloud architect, a cloud engineer. Just do it. I really am going to tell you this. I used to practice medicine. I know how the game ends for all of us. Live every day like it was your last. Really live like you're dying, because I hate to say it, but we all are. It's just a matter of time. I don't want you to have any regrets in your life. I want you to be able to tell your grandkids one day, or great-grandkids, the wonderful life that you had and how much you enjoyed it. I want you to have the financial ability to provide for your grandkids or your great-grandkids. And if you want to go away on vacation, and if you want to go tour Greece for a month, I want you to be able to afford it. Whatever it is that makes you happy, go for it. Life is too short. Don't waste a minute of your life. Enjoy every minute. That's why I do what I do. I'm here because I want to get people hired, because I love it. It's my favorite thing in the world to do. And I build a team of people that loves getting people hired. How about you, Alonzo? You want to say anything?
Absolutely. I get ecstatic. Let's just, as we began this conversation, we can close it the same way. I love getting those communications about people getting hired. I'm almost as excited as them giving the news about sharing a new turning point in their lives as I am receiving it. And because I can empathize with the feeling of whatever their challenges were, wherever they started, and to finally get that validation, that cosign to say, my efforts have finally paid off. I am set to go on a new career, a new trajectory, a new way of life, and everything else. how could anyone not be excited? And we want to do the same thing for everyone here. If you've had hesitations about where to go, we got you covered. If you have a lack of understanding about what cloud architects do, what the roles are and subsequent responsibilities, you can get that information here. And if you want to know how, but you're not sure about the gap analysis and what's needed, we can provide everything you need here. And we're excited to get anyone started who wants to become a cloud architect.
Absolutely.
All right. So just to close it out for everybody, make sure you, Tyrone's put all of this in the chat box. Make sure you register for that free Become the Ultimate Cloud Architect webinar this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And don't forget about our 30% off 4th of July discount that's available on all of our programs except for the Elite Cloud Architect program. So that is available on our award-winning Cloud Architect program and the Tech Interview Fundamentals programs and all of those other programs and payment plans and payment options of all sorts. So make sure to take advantage of those. And we will see all of you tomorrow on our BGP workshop. Can't wait to do that. It's going to be another exciting day. Thank you all. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.